This class is changing on some level. And I'll do my best to describe it. It isn't really a change as it is a kind of step forward or an evolutionary move, or just a deepening of a perception. What I'm understanding is that the meditative experience, the process, the discipline, the practice, is essentially about a word that we hear every so often in various spiritual teachings. And the word I would use is ascension, rising up. It usually has a kind of either biblical or post-mortality aspect to it, that you are rising back up into your Heavenly Father, your true self, the higher consciousness, to eternal bliss, whatever one's story tells oneself about what awaits us in the hereafter. There is this idea of ascension, rising up. The meditative experience is learning how to ascend, how to rise up into one's existential ultimate space or truth. And what obstructs the process of ascension is a number of things. One of them is having never heard the word before, or ever believed it, or ever imagined it would have anything to do with you. 2, you've heard the word, but you think it's all going to be about something that happens at the very last moment of your life. 3, you are so totally stuck in your physical material world that the possibility of rising out of it is not real, except in the fact that at some point you are literally going to be removed from this world, slowly or suddenly. At some point, you are going to, if you buy the story, you are going to ascend. If you don't buy the story, if you go into the idea of blackout, if you go into the idea of death is permanent nothingness or sleep or whatever, that's fine. But my experience, from which I can try to teach other teachers' experience, is that there is a process in life of rising into something higher, bigger, greater. And what holds you back is a lack of knowledge, or some people call it ignorance. What holds you back is fear. What holds you back is attachment to yourself, your biological impermanent being. What holds you back is your absolute fascination with, love of, fear of the world. There is a kind of density in our being that weights us down and allows us, in a certain sense, to truly function in a dense space. Buddha called it a space of suffering. Life is suffering. And yet holds out this possibility, as all religious and spiritual teachings do, of a release from suffering. And the mechanism of release is a kind of rising out of it, a kind of ascension into something higher and greater, and freeing us from the weight of the world. And we all have a kind of hunger for it, but we don't always have a language for it or an understanding of what it is we can do to ascend. I think in certain spiritual religious groups, there's a lot of ideas of prayer, asking for that ability. praying that when the moment comes, it will take place. That if you live a good life, it will be an automatic thing. If you live a bad life, certain things will hold you down or really pull you in the opposite direction. There is a descension, a descending into something very dark and very unpleasant, as opposed to the ascension, which has some sense of pleasure or beauty or bliss that we hunger for. So, if you buy into any of these concepts, if you in any way believe that this world is somehow between heaven and hell, if you will, higher and lower, if in fact it is a dense state made up of very fine particles, if you believe there is a journey to be had, either at the end of your life or more perhaps importantly, as we speak at this moment, if the journey is already happening, there is this idea or promise that you can begin to learn the tools of ascension even now. And those tools have been primarily expressed as sitting still, going inside. You hear that idea, go inside, and find, if you will, I'll use a word that I haven't really used before, the elevator. The place you can go into, push the button to penthouse or whatever floor you want to get off at, push the button and begin to rise. Now, if you have just wheeled onto that elevator 400 tons of your past history and all of your drama and all of your needs and all of your anger and all of your hostility, the sheer weight of that may overwhelm the elevator. You can push the button and lights will flash and things will go off and it will not go up. Because it was not built to bring so much density and weight into an ascended space. So, to carry on that image, you got to throw stuff off the elevator. Like an airplane where you can only take 40 pounds. You know, you got to take so much or you pay extra. But there's only so much extra you can pay before the plane is still stuck. So you have to let go of stuff. What can you let go of? What weights can you let go of that you don't need to go higher? Well, in a certain sense, I will tell you that the answer to that is everything. You have to let go of everything. Because whatever you hold on to limits your ascension. Whatever attachment to material things, to other people, to deeds good and bad that you've accomplished in the world, to your medals and your honors and your rewards and your punishments, all of that stuff that you hold on to and you bring onto the elevator will keep it from rising, or if it rises, you'll get maybe from the basement to the first floor stuck somewhere in between. And the door will open and there you are in some kind of mechanistic world with all these machines that aren't working properly. And they say, here you are. And what have you arrived at? It's awful. It's awful. You arrive at a world that is basically filled with yours and everybody else's waste material. The stuff you don't need, stuff nobody ever needed. The ride up the elevator is a learned experience. You have to learn to constantly let go and let go and let go. Rudy's word was surrender. You let this stuff fall away and fall away and fall away. And what you discover when you sit in meditation is this lightning of being that rises, that ascends, and you begin to go up. And you begin to discover in meditative practice the limits of your ascension. You rise to a certain place, and then there is the uh-oh quality, or the but this quality. You can rise except for you did this terrible thing to your mother when you were 10 and never told her. Or you rise to this certain level and you realize you were really bad to your best friend and it really haunts you and you don't know how to get past it. These things that start to grab you and they're there, and then you're stuck. So then comes what Rudy would call the work. Here's the thing you did to your mother, here's the thing you did to your best friend. How do you absolve yourself of these things that are sticking points that keep you from ascending? Well, one is you can forgive yourself. One is you can speak into the abstraction of that person and say, look, what I did was terrible and I'm so sorry, and mean it. One you can go, oh well, I could never have done otherwise. I was who I was and it's not who I am. Whatever your technique is, it could be just take a breath and go, nope. I've talked about that a lot. One of the great secrets of ascension is going, nope, nope, nope. In other words, don't go there. I don't have to get stuck in this thing that has trapped me over and over again for half of my life. You can just go, oh well, it's what happened and it's over and it's done, and upward. It's a technique of surrender and letting go that is really valuable when you finally decide, I do not need to hold on to that stuff. No matter how big and weighty it may be, whether it's you killed somebody or you wished you had killed somebody, whatever your thing is, the fact is you have to go finally at some point, no. Now, truthfully, there are certain actions in life that are so potent that you can't let go of them, that they pull you down, that they pull you into a descending mode. If in truth you have those experiences in life and you're still alive, you can do something called repent. You can go on journeys of repentance. Either go to that person and tell them you're sorry if they're still around. You can walk around Mount Kailash. You can bow down on the street and walk, 1,000 feet in somebody else's steps. You can do whatever your mind tells you that will clear these things out, that will help you be free of whatever it was you did. But you got to do it. You've got to do the stuff that frees you. And once you have done that, you have to believe that you've done it. And then the next time the ascension happens, which if you practice meditation every day, will be absolutely a practice of the moment. And you can go right back to it and say, and you let it go. And you see the value of letting go, of non-attachment, is the elevator just keeps rising and rising. Now, the experience that I often have is the elevator goes to a floor and it stops, the door opens, and there's stuff you forgot about from when you were 4 years old. And you can either go, oh, that too, and oh my God, or everything, or you just stand there and go, that's when I was 4. Door closes, and you keep going up. It's kind of your choice. Are you going to get engaged by your history, engaged by your old dramas, or are you just going to go, thy will be done. Stand still, be quiet. The elevator goes and stops, goes and stops, goes and stops. Or you may have arrived at a point through 40 or 50 years of meditation that it doesn't stop at the 4th floor anymore. It doesn't stop at the 8th floor or the 30th floor or the 100th floor because you've done all that. The elevator just keeps going up. Rudy talked about spiritual growth as building a skyscraper and learning to live on the top floor in the beauty and the lightness of that spectacular space. In other words, you have an elevator that goes all the way to the top and doesn't stop for anything. And you live in that space. It's a kind of space of present tense being. And it's an extraordinary space. But one thing Rudy said was, put a stick of dynamite in every floor. Because at some point, you have to blow up the entire structure, or it will be blown up. The ride into presence, the ride into the ascended state of being, at some point, there is no down button. There is no return to anything. There is simply a state of ascended awareness. Talking about that at this point seems a little beside the point because there's so much work to do. The work of practice of ascending. And think of your practice that way. That every day you sit, every morning you sit, you raise yourself another 2 or 3 inches, 2 or 3 feet off of the weight of your normal day. You let go of your crap, you let go of your stupid projections of what will happen, could have happened, shouldn't happen. Damn, it did happen, all that stuff. You just let it go and let it go and let it go. And you will feel this ability to keep rising. And then when the class or the sit of the meditation is over, you can walk out on the 20th floor. And you can live your day on the 20th floor instead of in the basement. You can do that. And if you have a teacher who has any sensitivities to your predilections, to your entrapments, to your density, to your thickness, to the stuff you have trouble seeing, if you have a teacher like that, and I did with Rudy, that teacher can sit with you, look into you, and see where your blind spots are. See what you're not seeing, see the problem, pretty clearly, to be honest, and then go in, almost literally reach in, and fix it, change it, alter it, make it clear to you, allow you to move on. So studying with a teacher has a certain value over sitting and meditating on your own. And I see a real value in that. On the other hand, the important thing is taking the step to be still, to step inside that inner space, the rising energy, and see where your ascension will take you. We are living in a very interesting time. I would venture to say that there's some element of what I would call existential crisis occurring in the environment, in the political environment, in the worldly environment, which can be very distracting and very disturbing. And one can either give way to the disturbance, or one can find renewed inspiration to sit quietly and find this ability to rise above it all, rise above all of the stuff that the world is trying to throw at you. It's a survival mechanism of sorts, but it also is something else. Being ascended allows you to look down upon those who are not, and you can bring to that higher vision one essential ingredient that comes out of your own ascension, and that is compassion for those who have not ascended. Compassion for the struggle, the difficulty, the ignorance, the suffering that they are experiencing. And with ascended awareness, you can step back into the density of most human being and offer ascended qualities of compassion, love, beauty, attention, acknowledgement, holding hands, hugging, all of those things which give people a momentary lift out of their difficulties. You may be called upon to do more than that. I told all of you, I think 3 or 4 times ago when I was sitting right here, actually in that corner, but I said I had gotten into this place of enormous suffering because of what was happening to immigrant children being taken from their parents at the border. Why that ignited me on some level, I don't know. I mean, I have hints of it. I know I tried to describe this, maybe I've done it in one of these talks, of being a 5-year-old having my tonsils out in a room full of 30 children when they were doing these kind of conveyor belt tonsillectomies. And in the morning they came to pick up, parents came to pick up their children, and we were all in these cribs, and my parents were late, and I was the last kid in the crib. And I suddenly saw that I might never be picked up. And the existential reality of that was so powerful. The enormity of thinking I was alone in the world by myself with no one to care for me, no one to love me, abandoned, was one of the foundational moments of my life. And of course my parents arrived. They're bearing big gifts even, which I was very grateful for. But I could never get over that sense of what it would mean to be separated from that connectivity and nourishment that life offers. And it remains an issue for the Bruce Rubin guy because they get built in. So my empathy for children being taken away from their parents is enormous. And when I saw that happen, I just said, well, I can't sit here. I have to do something more than send $100 to the ACLU or something like that. I have to do more. And I didn't know what to do or how to do it. And I sat here in this very room saying I don't know what to do, but that I thought maybe I could make a movie or something about it. And Andrew Wagner, who was sitting here, raised his hand and said his best friend is the head of immigration at the ACLU, and he's a director, and he could join me on this. And then all of a sudden, one door after another started to open. And I experienced what I call grace and the ascension or ascended energies flooding through to open doors in the world. Kind of amazing. I mean, beyond amazing. So many things went forward so easily, and some not easily, to help me make a movie about this very thing of childhood, children being taken away from their parents. And so the movie is now complete as of 2 days ago. These amazing things have happened. A friend of mine said he knows somebody who knows somebody who knows Nancy Pelosi. And it turns out that person was the former mayor of San Francisco, who ended up in my house. And he was sitting looking at these films and saying, this is amazing, we need to get these to Nancy. And so, as he calls her, the leader. And so this weekend, the leader is looking at these videos and hopefully going to be giving them to the Democratic Party to put out there. And the ACLU legal errand, the guy who's the head of the immigration, just saw them and just said, oh my God. What I'm trying to get at, not self-praise, because that's not what this is about. What I'm trying to get at is this very strong, informed feeling, an ascended feeling of needing to help came through, and the world opened up to pave a way to places I never would have or could have gotten to on my own. And I try to share that with you because the pathway between the ascended effort and the descending reality that comes from that effort, and the marriage of higher and lower forces, the ability to serve the world, the ability to serve yourself, to serve others, and the kind of dance between them is so extraordinary. And when you get out of the way and you allow these energies of grace to come in, obstacles disappear. Even when they appear, they disappear. And you find you can function in the world in a remarkable way. Not for you. If you make it about you, you'll get in trouble. When you make it about thy will be done, you will be served. you will be used. And I find that servitude, in a sense, the highest expression of the human genome. We're here to serve. I bring up that story because I'm feeling things shifting in me, in this class, in what we're doing, that the messages from on high are starting to filter through as much as our energies and abilities to move into that space. And I think there will be obligatory, if you will, work to be done. Not obligated from me, it's from whatever you hear inside yourself. Whatever you hear. You are now on the path that is uniquely and totally your own. The idea of a teacher helping is fine. The idea of a teacher inspiring is fine. But the reality is, inspiration and help are not the ultimate answer. You are the ultimate answer. You, your commitment, your involvement, your personal effort. You can either make that effort, empty the elevator and rise up, or you can just sit there with all of your stuff on the elevator waiting for the day that it will try to lift you into the ultimate spaces. And of course, it doesn't want your furniture. It doesn't want your art collection. It doesn't want your old emotions. It doesn't want the baggage of your life. So get rid of your baggage, rise up, be inspired by the universe, be inspired by everything. They may want you just to sit up there and do nothing. They may want you to perform actions down here. They may want you to become a helper in the world. Who knows what you'll be asked to do? But it's you who have to respond. It is you who has to listen. It is you who are responsible for this ride. And the mere fact that you're listening to this right at this moment means it's you, not someone else. It's you. And it doesn't have to be world shaking. It doesn't have to be, I'm trying to get people to get to the polls and vote. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm just saying, get out there and vote. These are terrible things being done in your name. If you don't agree with it, change what's happening. It's simple. It's very simple. You may be able to do that one-on-one with another person. You may be able to just go to the polls on your own. And I'm just talking in the most worldly sense, change the environment with a vote. Do what you can do to begin to take responsibility for your truth, for your being, for your life, and know as much as there are teachers and teachings that can direct you and help you and inspire you, in the end, you're not here to become Buddha, you're not here to become Bruce, you're not here to become some other teacher's teaching, any more than I wanted to become Rudy. I simply wanted to learn the lessons and make them real in the world. I am doing the best job I can do. I have acquitted myself of judgment. None of us is perfect. I'm not looking for perfection on any level. I'm just looking for the best job you can pull off. So I hand that over to you. I hand it over to you. You are practicing ascension. Practice. If you achieve ascension and rise into presence, I will leave you with one other little idea, that the presence you arrive at in ascension, you will discover is all around you and has always been around you all the time. That you arrive at not someplace other, but you arrive right here. You ascend into this. This place is the place you've been seeking your whole time. And for the first time, as you rise in ascension, you will discover that you have always been where you have wanted to be. It's an amazing journey, guys. It's an amazing journey. Many people go through life without any inclination that this is the journey. And it may not even matter. But you're here for a reason. Take it on. Do with it as you will. Don't be judgmental. If you don't feel this is the calling for you, then that's fine. You can live a life of just simple embrace of who you are and your own pleasures and your own joys and your own goodness and your own ease of being. There's no judgment. Be the person you are. But if you have found yourself ascending into something higher and there is more being given to you to do, take it on. And look to the universe to guide you and help you through it, because it will. It always does. Any questions? If you guys have questions out there, you can write me. I'm pointing through the lens here, right here. Everyone's looking at the door. If you have questions, email me, call me. I'm happy to talk. Thank you. Thank you for coming. I'll be back in a month, and we'll keep this going.